Hello and welcome. You're watching Head to Head on UATV. I am Oles Gerjuk. Nowadays, parliamentary immunity remains an important topic. In Ukraine, back in 1996, it was adopted to guarantee the people's deputies the freedom of their political activity. But within years, parliamentary immunity appeared to become a serious obstacle for criminal investigations and justice. Just recently, Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko has registered the bill on changes to the constitution. The document claims to renounce the parliamentary immunity. Does this bill follow the interest of MPs, and what are the chances of its adoption? To answer these questions, we are joined in the studio by Maria Ionova. She is one of the people's deputies from the Bloc of Petro Poroshenko. Hello, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
First of all, could you tell us all the details about the bill submitted by the President?
First of all, I would like to say that this new bill is making and propose a new version of the Article 80 by the President and the Article 80 of the Constitution of Ukraine. And in this bill, we also are saying that the proposed changes to the provisions of this the article effectively exclude the criminal and exclude the provisions of guarantee of criminal investigation, and as well as that MP cannot be prosecuted, detained or arrested, and without the concern of Ukrainian Parliament. So this changes in this Article 80 of the Constitution of Ukraine. But also, I would like to say that that was proposed also even in 2015 by the President, and we have already voted, if you remember, the immunity of the judges. It was really very hard because we needed 300 votes. When we are talking about nowadays, unfortunately, we see that sometimes it is like double standards, that MPs, they are demanding to cancel immunity, but at the same time, they allowed by themselves, physically attack different people, and then to show document that he is MPs and he has this immunity.
For example, what do you mean by that?
I mean by that we have unfortunately a few MPs who are attacking physically people, state servants, and they are not punished by that. And I would like to say that about myself, that personally I'm voting for also cancellation of immunity, but partly. Because if we will take an international experience, you will not see anywhere like total immunity of MPs. And there's a question not of president or government or some separate MPs. It is relations between power and opposition. And this is practice in different democratic countries. And I can tell you that even, we felt it during 2013, 2012, 2014, when we were participating in Revolution of Dignity. On that time, this immunity, sometimes they saved our lives. And now we are, of course, for make this immunity like partly, not like we have now, of course, because as we see, when we have criminal cases on some MPs who has violated the law on different ways, on different articles, and we are voting to cancel their immunity, and we are voting for this, but unfortunately, not the whole plenary and not the whole hall, voting for this, because they are firstly thinking about themselves. So that is why I think that anyway, this draft bill, so as it's the presidential initiative, it will be discussed at the committee, and that it's a short procedure we will have. So it's discussions, and in what part, that we have to make new this Article 80 of the Constitution of Ukraine. And I think that the people from the square, of course, especially MPs who are the leaders of, unfortunately, sometimes not very pleasant protests, because yesterday a policeman was hardly wounded.
Why was this protest happening? People were standing for this draft to be adopted, as I understand.
It's not a question that we are against of the protest. Of course, each citizen has a right to take part in
of course. Yeah, and police was guaranteeing this protest to be happening.
Absolutely. Yesterday, as we are living in a time of Russian aggression, and we know the provocations from our neighbor. Of course, our security and police, the security measures, of course, are much more strict and much more complicated as in peaceful time.
Yeah, there was a fight, but still, why was the I don't know, the hearing of this bill rescheduled on later?
Telling the truth, it's not like the rescheduled, because, as you know, the president has his annual speech in the parliament, and he told that he is going to give this draft bill to the parliament, which will change this article of the constitution, and that we have to partly to cancel immunity for MPs in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the attempt in 2015 to cancel the parliamentary immunity once. How many were there?
That was for judges, and as you remember.
But how many attempts were there to cancel the parliamentary immunity? Because as far as I remember, since 2015, after the last parliamentary elections, the MPs were promising to renounce the immunity. They kept promising until now, and nothing was happening within the time. Why was that, and how many attempts were there?
First of all, I would like to say that the priorities of the first reforms were a little bit different, because that was a huge reform and draft bills: energy efficiency, decentralization, as you remember, also changes to the constitution. I mean, a lot of and anti-corruption institution, visa liberalization, association agreement, and it is in agenda. And unfortunately, as I see now, a lot of MPs, I mean, not a lot of, some MPs manipulating with this topic, but it's too populistic, if I can say. And it's a pity for me to see Mikhail Saakashvili, who is on the site, on the website, and we have met with him in Malta during European People's Party Congress, where he was a leader of Georgian opposition party. So, and for me, it's still a question why he was destroying and he was attacking Ukrainian border, not Georgian border. I mean, and now he's making such provocation with the people who took part in the war against Russian Federation.
Yeah, you're talking about yesterday's protest.
Yes, absolutely. And also I'm talking about our colleague Barna, I mean, who is a teacher, but who was a volunteer during at the beginning of the war, and he went to the front. And for me, it's a pity, when we're reading the news that today we have lost again 2 soldiers. And we have in the center of Kyiv this provocations and battles. And now it's, yesterday together with my colleague also Maria Ionova, we were remembering when on the 17th and 18th of February 2014, we were taking wounded people which were punished and injured by military and by police to the medical point in the parliament, or we delivered them to the hiding hospitals, if I can say. And now, I mean, the protest people, they are beating, they're punishing in such a rude way policemen. I mean, is it a peaceful protest? And because, as you know, they are trying only to check these people who are taking part in the protest, if they have, I mean, on any weapon and some forbidden things.
Well,
so
we can never
it's
know
also
the real
for
intentions.
their secure, you know, not only, like it's not for secure FMPs.
Within these years, you had to, the MPs had to implement the reforms, and that was the priority question. Would you think it takes too long to adopt the bill about the parliamentary immunity?
No, I think that discussion has to be not on the streets. The discussion has to be inside the parliament. And it is an agenda. It is also one of the priorities, because it was one of the obligations which our party and our partners they were promoting during electoral period. But at the same time, I would like to say that we have to use parliamentary instruments inside the parliament, and you know, to demand that we would like to make it like now, this day, when we have started to, I mean, last plenary, we finalized with the law of education, the changes to the codes. I mean, now it's very also important reform, a medical reform.
Yes,
and we have to vote for this, because it's absolutely another philosophy in this. We are changing the system, we are changing the rules. Unfortunately, I hope that tomorrow we will finish it, and next in the agenda is this question about immunity. But
if this law is adopted, when would it come into force?
As you know, it is written in the draft bill that it will come into force from 1st of January 2020. And of course, we also hear the negative discussions, and that why it's from 2020 and so on. But okay, of course, probably I'm also not agree with this. But not only I am voting for, so there are some people who are voting against. And believe me, I also don't like word compromise. But if we would like at least to change it from another parliament, we have to vote now. Because if we will not vote now, then it will, again, we will not have it in the next parliament. Of course, we will discuss two draft bills. And then we hear the arguments, then we hear the discussion, and then we will, I'm sure that we will take a decision according to the procedure and which draft bill, I think, for which draft bill we will vote, I mean the majority, then it will work. Telling the truth, I would like also to hear this discussion, but not with the fire, not with the eggs and so on, but inside the parliament, I mean, just parliamentary discussion.
But then why do you think the president wants to keep the immunity until 2020?
It's not about, I mean, it's about reality, I think.
Well, but then there is one paradox that 2020 is exactly 1 year after the presidential team leaves the office if president is losing the
I was thinking so long.
race.
I mean, telling the truth, I'm not planning for so many years, as unfortunately.
Well, we have to be strategic.
We have to be strategic, but nowadays, I mean, when we hear the news and when we know what is going on, for me, of course, the most important tasks, it's to bring peace to the Donbass and to fight, as I'm an acting chair on European integration, that I would like to fulfill our obligation on association agreement. I would like to really, and I will going on to work hardly on a peacekeeping mission of United Nations in Donbass area.
But still, what's your opinion? Does the president want to keep it for his interest until 2020?
telling the truth, first of all, I would like to say that nobody knows again when we will have elections, because as you have heard yesterday even, people are demanding new parliamentary election, and even sometimes we can hear that a new presidential elections. But I think that President, he knows the reality inside the parliament. And when we are talking even with the single mandate MPs, when we are discussing with them electoral system, which is next very painful issue, there are no votes. And we have to talk. Also, we need help of mass media to talk with MPs. We need the help of civil society, to have these discussions with the people who are voting. And I think that this probably like public promotion, probably some MPs will change their mind, especially on electoral system. Who knows probably about immunity? I mean, believe me, when I was in the first an MP in 2012, we were in a position. We were also ready to vote for partly cancellation of immunity. But unfortunately, there was not a political will inside the parliament.
Well, that's all.
I will tell you that the faction of Bloc Petro Poroshenko, the presidential opinion that if I mean, we can give, and the president can give a lot of bills, but the issue is it will be voted. I mean, the faction is voting. We were voted in 2015. We are ready now to vote it. I mean, no problem. But unfortunately, we are not 226, the faction.
That's all we have time for. Thank you for this conversation. I really hope that if the parliamentary immunity will be cancelled, the MPs stop pursuing their personal interest in the parliament, and I hope that it will improve the situation on implementing the reforms.
I think that we are going by small steps, and we will be successful. Unfortunately, it's a process. Believe me, we also would like it that the changes to happen in the nearest time. But as we know, the history and also country is big, and we have to also change the society. First of all, to start with ourselves, of course.
I agree. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was Maria Ionova, one of the people's deputies for the Bloc of Petro Poroshenko. Thank you for watching Head to Head. I'm Ales Garjuk. Goodbye.